Hi, everybody. This is Cynthia Kane, and welcome back to UL100ZB Research Skills, Information, and Technology. We're now ready to start week 2 of our course, and this first video tutorial for week 2 is going to cover chapter 3 of Plan. So Plan is the third chapter and also the third pillar of information literacy. So what we're going to be covering in this video tutorial relates very specifically to Learning Assessment 2 of this week, the research plan, which we will be going over in another video tutorial. It simply means that you need to take a little bit of time beforehand, no matter what topic you're dealing with, to develop some strategies for locating information and locating data. So what we're going to be doing in this particular video tutorial is thinking about searching techniques and tools that are appropriate for one's information need. I'm going to switch back over here for one moment to chapter 3 of our textbook. And we do very much encourage you to go ahead and read each of these chapters along with each of the video tutorials, because they're going to contain a lot more information that will help explain each particular pillar of information literacy as we go along. So in chapter 3 of Plan, we're dealing with a scenario in which a student needs to write a paper for art history. And what she's doing here is thinking about, again, developing strategies for locating information and data. So in this particular instance, you want to think about tools, strategies, and you as the searcher, particularly in terms of adaptability. I am sure that all of you have had situations with research papers or other projects in which you think that there's going to be the perfect item out there, the perfect book, the perfect article, the perfect website, and it doesn't exactly exist. Or you start searching in an information resource or a database, and you think that the keywords that you've chosen are perfect for your information need. Well, they're just not working, or they're just not actually getting to what you need. This is where we want you to be adaptable and flexible, because sometimes you have to change your keywords. Sometimes you have to change the resource that you're looking at. If you're looking in one database, maybe you need to try a different one that is a little bit more related to your topic. But if you learn how to do that, then this is really going to contribute to your concepts and your flexibility in terms of information literacy. We're going to switch back here for just a second again to our presentation. So a significant part of the plan, particularly for a research plan, is to think about your topic beforehand. Remember, we did this in week 1. We had you go through, and I was doing a demonstration with Bubble Us on doing a concept planning mind map online of thinking about perspectives of your topic, sources that would support those perspectives, and finally resources that you could use to find those sources of information. We also want to get you a little bit more familiar with different ways that your topic might appear in a resource. We're going to be doing some demonstrations in just a second with one of our library databases that will actually make a little bit more sense to you. So part of Plan is selecting search tools. When I use the term database, that may or may not be that familiar to you. When I use the word database, often what I'm doing is just thinking about a particular computer database, but it can also be in print, that contains items related to a particular topic or a particular subject. So for example, some of you might be majoring in psychology. PsycInfo is the name of a database that our library has that deals very specifically with articles, books, book chapters, and other resources that relate to psychology and related disciplines. Some of you might be nursing or pre-nursing majors. In that case, you may be using a database called CINAHL, and it's actually CINAHL Complete or CINAHL with full text. That database actually contains a lot of full text of nursing journal articles. So those are examples of selecting the most appropriate databases for your information need. Now, those databases are available through libraries that pay for subscriptions. They're going to let you search by keyword or by subject terms. Again, we'll be looking at that in just a second. Many will offer the full text, often in PDF of articles, or sometimes maybe a PDF of a book chapter, sometimes the book if you're dealing with an ebook from a library catalog. And many will offer something called cite or citation tools that will convert a reference to an article or other item to a citation in a preferred style, such as APA or MLA. These are not always that accurate, though. Another way of searching for information can be using Google or Google Scholar, and some of you might be familiar with Google Scholar. We're going to look at that in just a second as well. Google Scholar is a freely available web search engine, and it actually does index scholarly literature. So a lot of people like to use Google Scholar because it's free, and you can get references to journal articles that way. But my caveat with free is that you get what you pay for. And the thing on Google Scholar, which may or may not happen in library databases that the library has paid for, is that Google Scholar may lead you to a reference or to an abstract of a perfect article for your information need. But then when you click on access to the article in Google Scholar, it might wind up taking you to a publisher's website, and then it will say, oh, you can have this article if you want to pay $50 for it. Well, in the first place, we don't ever want you to have to pay because you are an ESU student. If you found a reference to an article in Google Scholar or in a database, and it wasn't immediately available in full text, you can always use a service called Interlibrary Loan. And with Interlibrary Loan, we will actually find the article from another library and we'll send it to your email address as a PDF. So the point on planning is planning ahead. If you think that you're going to need an article through Interlibrary Loan, again, you want to plan for that accordingly. But knowing what to look for and knowing the tools are a big part of making a very successful and potentially workable research plan. I'm going to switch over here now back to the tab for our library, because the next thing I want to do here is show you what the library's web page looks like, because you're going to be doing this for Learning Assessment 2 if you choose to do this one, the research plan. So the direct address for our library's web page is www.emporia.edu/library. We will give you all this information as well. Now, you might remember in week 1, I was kind of having some fun with the topic of duct tape and wart removal. I want to research that a little bit more. So at our library's website, 2 links that we would want you to be aware of would be the Discovery Search Catalog and databases. The Discovery Search Catalog is very similar to a library catalog. So if I wanted to find books in print or in electronic form, I would actually go to the Discovery Search Catalog, and I'm going to do this right here for you. Now, I happen to be here on the Emporia State University campus. If you are searching in our Discovery Search Catalog, you would have a link up here that I don't have because I'm on campus, and it would say, hello guest, log in for full access. You would want to click on that link first because then that will authenticate you as an ESU student, and you can do everything that you need to do in this resource. Now, there are different techniques to searching in databases. These are some things that sometimes it's kind of hard to do in Google Scholar. So you notice something I'm doing here. I'm kind of curious to see if our library actually has any print books. And I don't know whether we do or not, but if I started to type in my search terms, this is my search strategy that I am picking out that would be part of your research plan for Learning Assessment 2. Remember that we talked about the Boolean operators, and, or not? Well, they're right here within a search mechanism in a database or other resource, so you don't even have to remember to type them in. So I'm going to type wart removal. And remember I had that word or. If I want something or something else. I'm kind of curious to see if I get wart removal or wart treatment. And I am going to put in the word duct tape. And again, I'm limiting this just to print books because I'm just kind of curious to see if we have any books on this. And notice that it said no results were found. Now don't be surprised if this happens to you within the context of a library catalog, because I put in a pretty specific search. If I got rid of these words and just searched, you see I'm still not getting any books that would talk about specifically wart treatment. But let's see what happens if I just type in warts. So you see what I had to do with that. Remember I said on planning you had to be kind of flexible. My first search didn't work. So I don't want to just walk away though and say, oh, our library has no books on this topic. Be flexible and be ready to put in your synonyms or different keywords in a search statement to see if you can find something for your information need. Now, this is very interesting because even though I specified, and here we go. So I specified that I wanted some books that would deal specifically with warts. But notice I'm not really getting anything that relates that much to my information need. I'm kind of curious to see if we have any ebooks. Now we're actually starting to add more ebooks or electronic books. And I did a little bit better with this one. This first one actually is indeed a PDF full text of a book. And I have some others down here that might not be quite as related to my information need. But I could click on the PDF full text and then I can actually read that book online. Now you notice again, I limited to print books or I limited to ebooks because this is probably one of the best ways to use your Discovery Search catalog. The Discovery Search will pull up articles, but actually it's going to go more in the other direction. It's going to pull up so many more articles. It's going to be just a little bit overwhelming. So let's now go to databases. Now when you click on the databases tab, and we're going to have you do this for your research plan, you would go to all subjects, and this will actually organize our databases according to broad subject categories. So again, wart treatment and duct tape, or wart removal and duct tape. The chances are pretty good that if I went to medicine and health, I would find some different databases that would relate to medicine and to health. I mentioned CINAHL Complete for people that are nursing or pre-nursing majors. We're going to go ahead and click on this. Again, when you're doing this search, you are going to be off campus. When you click on a database, you will be asked to enter your ESU username and password, again, to authenticate yourself as a current ESU student. I always go to an advanced search. And I'm limiting by abstract again, and I should mention why I'm doing that. Often databases will have a ton of full text, and if you've ever gotten a lot of results in Google or in a database that seem to be not quite related, the chances are pretty good that you're searching in the complete full text of articles. If I limit my search to abstract, I'm only searching in the abstract or the summaries of those items, so my results are going to be a little bit more limited. Let's try our search again, changing this to OR. Let's do wart removal or wart treatment. Notice it's giving me some suggestions as I type, and duct tape. And let's see what happens now. Now that I'm in a little bit more of a specific database. Notice the difference. The library catalog maybe wasn't that successful because my search was very specific. In contrast, a search in a database for articles may well be a lot more successful. Now, not all of these will have full text. So for this one, we would need to see if we have this article in our library, or again, if we need to do an interlibrary loan to get the article from another library. However, this one has the full text, how to get rid of warts. So we can click on the PDF full text. And I could download this article. There's a little link over here that's called Google Drive. And you could actually save this article to your Google Drive if you wanted. Again, on planning, think about different ways that you would save an article or print it out and how you're going to organize your information. I mentioned that you usually will have something called Cite or Citation Tools. So if I click on this button here to cite, we're going to be asking you to choose a particular citation style to use for your learning assessment. Some of you may be using APA, the American Psychological Association. And in this case, I could copy and paste this citation, checking it to make sure it's accurate. Or if I'm using MLA, I could copy and paste that citation. Again, making sure that it is actually accurate for my information need. So that is an overview of how I can do a very quick search. I'm going to go back to a result list here, because now I'm going to go back to our presentation. Again, Chapter 3 on Plan talks about some different ways that you can refine a search, and becoming a good information literate searcher means that you're aware of different ways that you can refine a search, different techniques. One is called truncation. Truncation means that you're searching for the root of a word and whatever follows, usually by using an asterisk at the end of the word. A controlled vocabulary, also known as subject headings or descriptors, that's a set group of terms that can be within a database that organizes all of the items under one category or under one subject heading. If you are familiar with the concept of tagging in social media, tagging is a form of controlled vocabulary. You can click on that tag or click on a hashtag, and then you're going to see related social media posts that have been tagged under that one specific meta tag or term. So a little bit similar to tagging or hashtagging in that sense. Controlled vocabulary can lead to more precise searching. It depends upon the extent of your topic. So let's go back over here to our search. So if I were to go back up here, I'm going to change my search just a little bit. So I'm now doing something called truncation. And when I typed in that asterisk after the word wart, now I'm going to get wart or warts. That will probably give me more results if I have this still combined with wart treatment and duct tape. So I have 13 results in my old search. And I went from one extreme to the other. I doubt that I would want to go through 2,276 results. Nevertheless, this is the way that truncation can work for you. It does work, again, if you do the root of a word, such as educate, then you can put an asterisk after that, and you would get educator, education, and so forth. It's not always the best term or the best technique to use, but it's a good thing to be aware of if you want perhaps the singular or the plural endings of a word, or again, you want different endings for that root word. Control vocabulary. We're going to go back to how to get rid of words. And I clicked on the full item record this time. So notice where this has major subjects and minor subjects, words prevention and control. These are very good examples of controlled vocabulary terms. So if I were just to click on this link for warts, notice that I now only have 610 results. That means that there are 610 results in this database in CINAHL Complete up here that are categorized under that major subject heading or that major controlled vocabulary term of warts. Now, some of these may be different from the ones that I retrieved earlier with my original search statement of the wart removal or wart treatment and duct tape. Notice too, I'm getting some things that are in different languages. Another way that you can limit your search in a database, again, going back to planning, you can say that you would only want results that would be in a specific language. And most databases will actually support this as well. So again, you may not try all of these different ways of searching when you're planning a search statement, but it's good to be aware of how to select the most appropriate database for your information need, how to construct your search statement using keywords, how to limit your search by abstract. Always make sure that you have synonyms such as wart removal or wart treatment, words that have the same meaning. And then, as needed, apply such advanced techniques as truncation or controlled vocabulary. You are now ready to move on to our second video tutorial for Chapter 4, Gather.